South Point offers all the types of entertainment you'd expect at a first-class Las Vegas resort. Did you know our 400-seat showroom is one of Las Vegas's top destinations for live entertainment? Enjoy live performances by classic Vegas entertainers, bands, and today's hottest comedians, plus a rockin' dance floor. You can also enjoy live entertainment at the Grand View Lounge, where you'll feel all the vibes of old Las Vegas. Enjoy the music, and if you love to laugh, don't miss The Dirty at 12:30, our very own free comedy show. Every Friday night at 12:30 a.m. in the Grand View Lounge. The Dirty is 100% free, so arrive early. Go to southpointcasino.com or call the box office at 77136 for today's performances at the showroom and the Grand View Lounge. When you're ready for your favorite cocktail, stop in and unwind at one of our 7 specialty lounges. There's a bar around every corner, because you're in Vegas, baby. South Point Casino has plenty of attractions for the whole family. Catch a movie. Our 16-screen movie theater includes 2 XD Extreme screens for the ultimate in viewing, sound, and luxury. After the show, treat the family to a variety of treats at our old-fashioned ice cream parlor, Kate's Corner. We scoop up a variety of creamy concoctions, including smoothies, hand-dipped cones, milkshakes, malts, sodas, and sundaes. At Kate's, there's something for everyone. And if you've still got time to spare, our bowling center might be right up your alley. Voted Best of Las Vegas, it's a great place for friends and family fun. 64 lanes, a pro shop, snack bar, and arcade. And while the kids are bowling, you can play slots and sip on a drink in the Alley Cat Lounge while overlooking the lanes. For our more serious and professional bowlers, the South Point is also home to a separate tournament bowling plaza.
Here we go. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome in. This is Sports by the Book. We are live from the South Point Hotel and Casino. Happy to be with you this morning. Please make sure and follow our social media pages, Sports by the Book, on every platform. Instagram, Sports by the Book LV. I'm Alex White, co-hosting today with Kenny White. We are going to take the first 30 minutes, talk about today's action. We do have 3 college football games on the board, some hockey, some NBA. We'll get to all of those very shortly. And then the second half of the show at 9:30, we will get into NFL. We've got to give you our top 10 power ratings going into week 9. We will give you pace of play, top 10 run teams, top 10 pass teams, all of that good stuff, and tell you who is covering and give you some trends. Let's start right there. Yesterday, Pittsburgh Steelers, big win over the New York Giants. They did cover as a 6-point favorite. That total also went over, making this week's totals 12-4 to the over. And you have the year for totals and for favorites for NFL.
I do. Good morning, Alex. I always like to start a little slower than you do. Like you just want to jump right in. It's like you sit down at the blackjack table and just push all your money into the first hand, and this is it. So I am well underprepared. I don't have my NBA done. I don't have my NHL done, and I don't have the World Series done. So, and it was a busy morning. I got the NFL. I don't have all the daily stuff, but
yes.
Watched a great documentary last night on the Zodiac Killer. While I was working, I'm working the entire time on women's college basketball and have so much printed out. My dad's here, and he's going to handicap the women's, and I've got so much information for him, and I can't wait because I think that he's going to beat it up pretty good. But I was up late doing that and didn't get a chance to do anything else. But the Zodiac, you got to watch the documentary. They never caught him. Mm-hmm. And it was murders from 1961 to about 75. And it's an amazing documentary because he attached himself to a family. And that family is in the documentary talking about all of the times they spent with him. And they were young kids and they didn't know what was going on. But now when they realize and they think back, oh my God, he left us in the car for an hour and left. And when he came back, he was in a huge hurry and throwing stuff in the trunk and let's go, we got to run. And they said he did that like 5 or 6 times and they had no idea why. And he had blood on him sometimes and they had no idea why. And because they were young kids and he was so good to them that they didn't have a father. So he became their second father. But it's an amazing documentary. So I just wanted to start with that, so people know that, hey, that's out there. I think it's on Netflix. There was a movie they made years ago too. So it just it amazes me that there's such creatures in the world, and this guy. I'll tell you one thing that I was amazed with. He was 6'5", or 6 foot, 250 pounds, and he was a huge kid growing up. So he was like an early bloomer, but he was a Olympic diver. So if you can imagine somebody 6 foot, 250, and an Olympic diver, he could do tricks off the diving board like nobody's business. He would go to the municipal pool, and on the high dive, not just jump off the board, he would jump up on the board and do flips on the board and then bounce off and do his flips. And he won 2 state championships in the state of California in high school, and he could have gone to the Olympics, but I guess he didn't do that. He decided to go on a killing rampage for some reason. So just amazing. And that obviously he was never arrested. And the police stopped him 3 different times. And they're like, hey, somebody just got killed over here. Did you see anybody? He goes, yeah, I saw the guy running down the street that way. And the police were like, okay, hey, thanks. And they went running down the street trying to find some invisible person. And he walked right by. They even pulled him over in his car one time right after. And he was like, no, I just took my kids to the races. And he had these kids, this family that he made up, or, he bought into. It's an amazing documentary. So,
well, there you have it. If you had,
I was just trying to buy 4 minutes. It's still only 9:05. So don't
worry, we have plenty to talk about. I am here to support you and help get through the games that we have on the board today. We can also talk about where the line has moved, where the bettors are betting, professionals, where the sharps are betting, and plenty of NFL, because I was working on NFL all last night as well. I was telling you off the air. I split my totals now, my over-under numbers for each team to home and away. I think that's going to help my totals out moving forward. So, yeah, we'll get through.
I found that's a huge help in my. I worry about it in sports where there's not a huge sample size, because football, there's only college 12 games. So so what you have to do is you have to adjust both, though.
Right.
But one higher than the other. So, and when you said you did that, I was thinking about the Kansas City Chiefs, where they have a huge undertrend at home and a huge overtrend on the road. So there's got to be teams like that, and that's, a lot to do with coaching and how they play the game. So that could definitely help.
Well, and I really like it with NHL and with WNBA too. And we saw it with the Minnesota Lynx, and they're such an under team at home.
Yes.
And when you'd make that
adjustment, they were an over team on the road.
Yeah.
All year.
And that's a small sample size too. I mean, they only
right. It's not a big sample. And again, you're not making a bet off the trend. You're making your number,
right.
But it will help maybe make a little better number home and away. So favorites for the year now. And remember, I talked about those away favorites of 2.5 or more were 17-2 going into last week. And again, I tell you though, these trends are all going to reverse. And at the end, in a large sample size, they're going to be about 50-50. Well, they went 1-4.
Wow.
1-4, the away favorites went this week. So they're still 18-6 on the year. So don't feel bad for them. Home teams went 5-3, and they were 4-3 last week. So home teams are 9-6 ATS, 3 points or greater. They're 27-30 on the year, but that still makes favorites in the NFL 45-36 for the year. So if you just bet every game, every favorite of 3 or more, you're up 4.5 units for the year after 8 weeks.
And then I started off when I was talking really fast and jumping right in there for a minute, but 12-4 to the over this past week in week 8 of NFL. And the trend has been that way for the year.
Well, that helped push it up. It's now 65, 55, and 3. So you're 5 units. You bet every game over, you're 5 units up. I wonder how many favorite and over parlays have cashed as well. So again, yeah, I knew there was a lot of favorites covering. 2 weeks ago was week 6. Favorites were 9-1 of 3 or greater. So, and even the small favorites I know won that week because, again, I know there was a lot of 10-teamers hit on the ties win parlay card here at the South Point.
Well, we did see some dogs cash this weekend. Whether they were, so I had an 8-8 favorites and underdogs, but I just had where the line closed, whether it was under 3 or not.
I have 6 and 7 since the away teams are 1 and 4. So favorites were 6 and 7 overall.
So of my games looking at this week, I did like 2 overs and 2 unders, but now if that trend is going to even out a little bit, should definitely start looking for some unders more, right?
Well, the numbers are going to be overinflated because if the games are going over, the bookmakers have to make them higher because they know everybody's betting them. And the betting on the overs are going to continue with more money. So if you are an underbetter, it just might be better to wait till Sunday to bet because you're going to get a better number. You should get a better number, half point or point better.
Baseball bettors who, like the dog yesterday, did cash. The Dodgers won outright in New York, even though the Yankees were a favorite. Walker Buehler, you talked about it. For a while, it was bet against him, and then you started to see him come back into form. Did very good in that game. Dodgers now a 3-0 lead on the series. We do have a game 4 tonight that we will get to, but any thoughts on the first 3 games? And now Freddie Freeman has had a home run in all 3 of those games.
Yeah, the Yankee bats just went silent, but you're right. Walker Buehler is somebody I have talked a lot about because I followed him from when he returned to the Dodgers, a minor league stint, and didn't do well. Then he was called up and he didn't do well. And he was pitching so poorly, they had to send him back down to AAA. And he did poorly there. Again, 4 or 5 starts. And just out of necessity, they had to bring him up because they had so many injuries to the pitching rotation. And he did not pitch well at all. His last start against the Padres in the regular season was his best start. Then he faced him 5 days later in the playoffs, and he gave up 6 runs in the second or third inning. But what I was impressed with was the manager sticking with him.
Right.
And he throws a shutout 4th and a shutout 5th, and he faced the meat of the lineup in that game. And I thought, you know what? He's got confidence in him, and that's good. So we'll see what happens. And here he is. Even on 12 days rest, he throws 5 shutout innings. I'm surprised they didn't go longer with him, only 76 pitches, but they didn't want to get greedy, and they said, well, you gave us 5 great innings, let's go to the bullpen.
So I subscribe to Jeff Fogel's newsletter. He does a great write-up. It's very simple to read, and it's a lot about where the Sharps are betting all of these big games. And he wrote in there that the NL are they more dominant than the AL? Was the Padres and the Dodgers really our World Series? Because now we're just seeing this almost sweep. We'll see if the Yankees can make this a series for us. But do you believe that with the NL kind of being more dominant?
I don't think I'd have to look at all my ratings, but I don't think so. I think there were some really good teams in the American League. It's just
maybe just
I think they
hitting-wise?
kind of beat each other up because I thought Seattle's pitching rotation was the best in baseball, and Houston still had a good team. Cleveland had a really good year, and they were a good team. Baltimore was a really good baseball team too. So, I don't think so, and we could be. It's a game of inches, and Garrett Cole pitched great in game 1. So what if the Yankees would have won game 1?
Yeah.
And the Dodgers would have won last night still, it would be only a 2-1. So when you're at this point right now, it looks easy, but it's not.
Right. Well, we were just spoiled with some really good championship series going into this World Series and had very high expectations for the Dodgers and the Yankees.
And now a guy that is really responsible for probably them even being this late in the season, Luis Gil, who had a really good season for the Dodgers this year.
Yeah. Yankees.
Or for the Yankees, I mean, yeah. I'm trying to find his stats for the year, but as I mentioned to you, he hasn't pitched since the 18th. And his previous start before that was on September 28th. So he was 20 days in between starts there, and now he's another 11 days. So he's had 1 start in a month. That's not great, but he is a guy that, as I said, is a big reason why the Yankees are in the World Series, because this year he was 15-7, 29 starts, ERA of 3.5. He was their most consistent pitcher throughout the entire season, but it looks like he's 26. quite possibly this could be the most innings he's thrown in his career, and he just could have gotten tired late in the season. We'll see if he can find that second win tonight. Command could be an issue. If he gets lucky and gets a couple of easy innings early, maybe that'll, help the Yankees a little bit. They just need to get the lead. If they get the lead and start playing with the lead a little bit, maybe they'll feel better. It wouldn't hurt if Aaron Judge would put a couple hits together.
So his outing against Cleveland went 4 innings, 2 earned runs, 3 strikeouts, 3 walks, no home runs. So only 4 innings pitched against a Cleveland Guardians team that isn't quite as good with their lineup as the Dodgers. So we'll see how he does tonight.
Just looking at a stat that this doesn't bode well for Luis Gil, because being off 12 days and not having that time on the mound, you lose some command. Well, he's a guy that walked 77 hitters in 151 innings. So he walks a guy every other inning. That's a horrible ratio. So a guy that doesn't have great command. He's a strikeout guy, 171 strikeouts, 151 innings. So we'll see. But he's used to pitching that way. He's used to having guys on the bases, and he's used to striking out guys. So if he's got his good stuff and he can strike out hitters tonight, maybe he gets through 4 or 5 and they can get the lead here tonight. I think the Dodgers most likely got to throw a bullpen game tonight. I haven't seen who they're starting. I don't know if there's anybody listed yet for that.
Nobody listed yet, so you would have to assume that they are having a bullpen game, right?
B. Honeywell looks like, because it is. So it is a bullpen game, and the Dodgers can afford it. Up 3-0. Why not? And the one good thing about those type of games openers is you get to use your bullpen guys, where if they weren't being used, they get to the point where they're rusty and they're not throwing strikes. So that's a good day for everybody to throw and get some innings in to be sharp. So that might be a benefit to the Dodgers. We'll see. But that Yankees definitely should be the favorite, and you should definitely add 25 cents to your number for the Yankees in a must-win situation tonight. And I always say the hardest game to win in a series for the team that's up is the closeout game. So right. We'll see if they can close it out or not.
And then the Game 5, if there is one, would be tomorrow, right? Because they do stay in New York.
Yes.
So it would be another back-to-back.
Game 5 would be tomorrow. I'm sure it'll be Garrett Cole on the mound. So if they get a little momentum and win today, they would have Cole going the next one.
Just to finish off this recap from games yesterday, looking at the National Hockey League favorites, went 5-3. Some good plus money on those Dogs if you were on that side. Columbus being one of them, beating the Edmonton Oilers. Totals 6-2 to the over. In the NBA, Dogs went 7-3-1. 3 of them won outright. So 7-3-1 against the spread, 3 won outright. And totals were 7-4 to the under in the NBA. Going to tonight's action, we did just talk about MLB World Series, Game 3. Any other thoughts on that? I know that the total opened 8.5, moved up just a little bit. It was juiced to the under when it opened, and now it is juiced to the over, but no real movement there, side or total for Yankees Dodgers tonight.
Yeah, let me look and see what I had my total, and 9.5 is where. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong game. 9. I have 9 in tonight's game. Yankees $1.60 and 9, making the adjustment of 25 cents that they must win this game. But just because they must win doesn't mean they're going to win. So $1.60 and 9, I do lean a little bit to the over. Still, 2 great lineups. The Yankees just got a hit, but hitting is contagious. A couple guys string a couple hits together, and who knows what happens.
Are we ready to go to a little college football? We do have 3 games on the board. We're going to start with the Conference USA, if that is okay with you. We've got New Mexico State and Florida International. This one, I don't think you have any strong feel on this. I don't either with my numbers, but Florida International, 8.5-point favorite. That just moved here at the South Point. It has been 9. It is 9 most places. 8 at Superbook. Total 43.5 in this one. 2 similar teams. I made FIU 11.5 points and the total 46.5. But we were looking, there is going to be a little bit of wind there, about 12 miles per hour. So don't want to jump on the over there.
10 to 20.
10 to
10 to 20
oh,
miles
10 to
an hour,
20.
yeah.
Okay.
It's gonna be over 15, but it is end zone to end zone. The worst wind is swirling winds or sideline to sideline. At least when it's at your back, 4 quarters. You're going to benefit. Each team's going to benefit 2 quarters, and then the opponent's going to struggle going against the wind, and it does create some good field position for the team with the wind. Coaches need to use their timeouts in those games at the end of those quarters to make sure if they've got the ball to use it, or if the other team's struggling, to make them punt into the wind. That's my colleges?
That is your colleges.
Thank you. A lot of stats, too.
Yeah. Looking at New Mexico State and giving up the amount of points that they do, they have struggled defensively all year long. So maybe my total is not too far off, leaning to the over there.
No, I'm right on the number. But, there's no points to be added to it. I was hoping the wind was going to be a crosswind and that it would affect play and would create, coaches to be more conservative and to run the football. But that's not the case. And there is a lot of wind in the next one, Sam Houston.
Let's talk about that one. Louisiana Tech going to Sam Houston State. Louisiana Tech 3-4 on the year, 2-2 in conference. Sam Houston 6-2, already bowl eligible, and 3-1 in conference play. The big news here is Hunter Watson, starting quarterback for Sam Houston State, should be back in this game, and that is why you're seeing money on the home team here. 10.5 point favorite, total 45.5.
Yeah, that game again. This one a little stronger winds, and this is in Huntsville, Texas. 15 to 25 mile an hour winds tonight for this game, and southeast would make this from one corner of one end zone to the corner of the other end zone. So it's. I don't think it's going to be a benefit. It could be a little bit of a detriment to those teams with Sam Houston. High rushing team. Looking at the numbers, they run the ball 64% of the time. One of the top rushing teams in the country. So yeah, they're gonna run it. Casey Keeler, very, very conservative. Sonny Cumbie on Louisiana Tech, wide open, more of the Red Raider air raid offense. So they're going to throw it.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll use that wind, try to use that wind as an advantage. I think right-handed quarterbacks would roll right and use that wind and throw the ball with the wind. So we'll see if they can design some plays for that. They usually don't. It's funny that these coaches have no idea sometimes and don't use the elements in their favor. They should more often, especially like a slippery field, and you don't see as many coaches have a fake down and out and go over the top, and they don't do it. They get more conservative. They think it's slippery, it's wet, we're going to cause turnovers, but in the fact it's opposite of that, they should be more aggressive since the offense knows where they're going and the defense doesn't.
That does make a lot of sense. So nothing for you in that one. You were leaning to the dog, I think, a little bit, but looking at those rushing projected yards.
Yeah, but it's not that big of a difference. Yeah, I like Louisiana Tech here in this game. It's small play. I lean to them.
Just went up to 11. Wow. So if you do like the dog, this is the best number here at the South Point.
Yeah, a lot of love for Sam Houston State most of the season this year. So Casey Keeler's a good head coach. He's done a good job. 10 years there now at Sam Houston State. Sonny Cumbie's still trying to turn Louisiana Tech around.
Last but not least, and I know that you do like this team, Texas State, now 4.5 point favorite here at the South Point. It was 4 all morning, total 58.5. So this is a non-con game between these two. Louisiana 6-1 on the year, 3-0 in the Sun Belt, and then North Texas in the AAC, they are 2-2 and 5-3. So they're trying to get bowl eligible here with this game. They're 3-1 at home. They have lost their last 2 games. Lafayette 4-0 on the road this year, and they're on a nice 4-game winning streak. So it was a lean to the favorite for me. I did make Texas Tech about a 7-point favorite here at home. Did not take any off to avoid the favorites like I know you like to do. But so, I mean, it's not a huge difference, just about a 2.5 point difference here for me with Texas State. Anything for you in this one?
I made Texas State 5-62, so pretty much right on the number. And I was just checking the weather there in San Marcos, since It is windy in that area and could be very windy there in San Marcos. That's a little bigger stadium, though. They have a 30,000 seat stadium there. So I'll let you know, give you an update on the weather.
Okay.
In San Marcos, because that's very important. You need to know the weather before you bet these games. And it's going to be even windier there. This is where the conditions are. Southeast, 20 to 30 miles an hour in San Marcos tonight. So,
Wow.
we'll see. Texas State, I should say. Both these teams are pretty well balanced. Lafayette, 53% run, and Texas Tech, 52% run. So both teams a balanced offensive attack in that one. So we'll see. But be careful of that. Trying to check the could be some rain tonight. Windy. Just windy. No rain there in that game, but it's going to be extremely windy there. 20 to 30 miles an hour easily.
With that record I just said, I feel like Louisiana has kind of just slipped by me, and I haven't really paid attention to most of their games. With that being said, I've definitely watched Texas State and Jordan McLeod, quarterback there, having a very good year, completing 68% of his passes, 8.2 yards per pass, 20 touchdowns, 7 INTs, and 5 rushing touchdowns. And Texas State has been they play fast, right? And they've been more of a little bit of an over team. And
yeah, they do. 26 seconds in between plays. The other team, Louisiana Lafayette, more of a run-oriented, they're slower pace, not run-oriented, 53% run, but 30.5 seconds in between plays.
I will say, too, McLeod coming off a 2-interception game in the loss to Old Dominion, so maybe a little bit of a bounce back here going back home. But I know there's no difference really for you in that game, but I think I just talked myself into the favorite there with Texas State and comparing those numbers. Moving to a little bit of hockey, and then we'll take a quick break, and then we will get into our NFL stuff, since I know that you did spend a lot of time on that, and we do want to get to that. So just quickly on hockey, we'll get some of these numbers up at the book. The Blues playing Ottawa. Ottawa minus 160. Total is 6 in this one. Man, the Senators are having a pretty decent year, and now having a few goalies and Ullmark there. It is pretty shocking to see them as a $1.60 favorite from what we've seen the last few years, especially against the St. Louis Blues team, who has been consistently above average the last few years.
Yeah, there's been a lot of love for Ottawa this year in the betting market, and seeing those numbers and how much higher they are on their games. But again, I'm at $1.50, and St. Louis is playing back to back. So there is a good reason why that may be just a little bit higher. Maybe people are betting against St. Louis in this game and fading them.
Going to the next game with the Boston Bruins at home hosting the Flyers. It's taken some time for them to find their rhythm. 4-4-1 on the year. I told you this is, since I started handicapping hockey, this is the first time I can remember the Boston Bruins not being in my top 10. So we'll see if they can turn it around, but it has been a very slow start for them. On the flip side, they get a pretty below average team here with the Flyers. In their 9 games, they have won just 2 of them. They are 2-6-1 on the year, but Samuel Erson's a pretty good goalie as well. Curious, well, this total, 6.5 seems very high. I've got it lower, and I know you do as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of people maybe just playing the trends, and it's just a small sample size. You know, when you're looking at the last couple of games, Boston is over their last 3 home games, and the Flyers are over their last 4 road games. So that could be something that people's looking at, but that's still a small sample size. So I didn't think the total should be this high. I have at 5 over 20. And you're right, 6.5. That's a big number. Open 6 here at the South Point, and they bet it up. So we'll be on the same side as the books in this one and needing under 6.5.
We'll have to look up Jeremy Swayman's numbers to start the year, because it has taken him some time to get back. I'm going to skip this next game. The Islanders, very big favorite, $2.40 at home against Anaheim. Nothing really in that one unless you're interested in taking the dog at 2-1 plus money with the Ducks. Let's move on to the Canadians here. Plus 150 at home against Seattle. Seattle, $1.70 on the road. The total 6 in this one. Both goalies should be good to go. Joey Decord going for the Kraken and Sam Montembeault for the Canadiens. Big number on Seattle here on the road, -170. Is this a spot where we can jump in on the Canadiens?
I'm kind of surprised. Yeah, I definitely think it is. That price is just way too high. Canadians are not that bad of a team to be that big of an underdog at home to Seattle. Yeah, I'm very surprised that number's that high. Seattle's lost 3 in a row and Montreal has won 2 in a row. So
yeah,
that really surprises me that Seattle could be that high of a favorite. They are 4-4-1 on the year. No, I mean, it's not like they're starting out in there. I feel like when you have a price that high, it's a team that would be 8-2, but this is a 500 hockey team right now.
When both of them are, right? We got Montreal. I was just looking at theirs as well, and I believe they are 4. Hold on, where'd that go?
And this was bet up too. This is not like it opened higher and is bet down. Opened $1.45 here at the South Point, and then it's up to $1.70. Really surprises me.
Maybe a little bit of a do factor here and kind of that trend switching where it did not work out for us yesterday. Winnipeg did get their first loss against Toronto. But yeah, I like going more with the streak and how these teams are playing, and I would lean to the dog here in this one. Minnesota playing on a back-to-back, is that correct?
Yes. Now, this is their 7th game, last game of the road trip. So didn't work yesterday. Carolina was on their 6th game, and usually those are really good spots because these guys are tired from that long road trip and they can't wait to get home. They know this is it. This is the last one. We get to go home tonight. After the game, they're on a flight and they're home, 3 hours after that game. So a lot of teams are looking forward to that. So we'll see if that happens here tonight. That I think Pittsburgh's worth a play for that factor. But it looks like Marc-Andre Fleury for Minnesota against his old team.
Yes, it is. And it did take overtime, though, for Carolina to beat Vancouver yesterday.
Yes, it did. So it was close. It could have gone either way.
Very, very close. I don't have a lot of faith in Pittsburgh yet this year and how they have been playing.
Well, they've lost 5 in a row. So that's a team that's really struggled. They've struggled with their number one goalie, Jari.
Yes.
Was sent back home on the last road trip because his fundamentals were completely off. So they sent him back to work with the goalie coach to try to work his fundamentals out and get him some confidence going. So they've been going with their second and third string goalies this entire season, it seems like.
One of our better goalie matchups here, New York Rangers with Igor Shesterkin and Washington Capitals. Logan Thompson will get the start for the Caps. Rangers still $1.45 favorite, even on the road, total 6. It's hard to bet against the Rangers, even if you are getting a good +125 price here with the Caps, who are doing relatively well, 5-2 so far to start the season. But the Rangers are definitely looking like one of the top teams in the league once again.
They're playing great. This is a good rivalry, though. These two teams don't like each other, so you're going to get Washington's best game tonight. They want to win. They've won 3 straight home games. So they've got solid home ice, and you mentioned the goaltending matchup. Logan Thompson, he is a very good goalie, above average goaltender. Shesterkin, one of the best. So I think the price is definitely a little high. I don't think it's in the position to take. I think if you flashed $1.40 in front of me, I might be willing to take $1.40, but I don't think we're going to see it that high. We could. We'll see.
And last but not least, the Kings in San Jose. The Sharks did get their first win yesterday. The Kings -270 on the road and the total 6. I don't think there's anything really in this one unless you want to back the Sharks to win 2 in a row here at +330.
Could happen. I mean, confidence is a fragile thing, and San Jose maybe gained a lot of confidence. Young team, and they get a win, they might feel really good about themselves. Especially at home, this is such a high price. But I think it's supposed to be around $2. But that's who I would be playing those. San Jose. I love it that they won a game, and they are back at home too. So it is the first game back at home after a long road trip. So we'll see. That could, maybe hamper them, but I think the win is more something they were excited to get,
Right.
and they'll play with more confidence tonight. And it is Los Angeles. If you're in San Jose, the one city you can't stand is Los Angeles. So this is a big rivalry for San Jose, as well as the Las Vegas, the Golden Knights are. But the Kings are a huge rival for San Jose.
Pretty impressive comeback, too. 3 goals in the third period to force overtime, and then 1 in overtime against the Utah Hockey Club. So we'll see if they can keep that rolling. Maybe sprinkle a little bit on that money line at plus 330 for the San Jose Sharks. We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, it's all NFL. We will get you updated going into week 9. Don't go anywhere. This is Sports by the Book.
If you're celebrating a special occasion or just love fine dining, you're in the right place. Come experience the crown jewel of South Point restaurants, Michael's Gourmet Room.
Welcome.
With over 600 different types of wines and magnificent dishes prepared tableside, you'll revel in the rich classic Vegas decor and the best black tie service in the world. This intimate gourmet room has earned accolades galore. Come to Michael's Gourmet Room for an unforgettable dining experience. Another famous restaurant is the Silverado Steakhouse, where you'll find the charm and service that discerning patrons require. From top quality steaks and chops to fresh seafood and desserts, you'll love the award-winning wine list and menu at Silverado Steakhouse. Steak lovers have even more options with primarily prime rib. Catering to hearty appetites, the menu features a variety of flavorful prime rib cuts, dry-aged to ensure tenderness, and then seasoned and slowly roasted. Although prime rib is our specialty, it's not the only thing on the menu. There's something for everyone. And if you're craving a taste of Italy, come experience delicious Italian cuisine and the attentive service at Don Vito's. Our culinary team starts with the freshest ingredients and transforms them into traditional favorites. And don't forget Italian desserts. Don Vito's. Savor the taste of Italy. Finally, if sushi is more your style, join us at the popular Zenshin Asian restaurant and sushi bar, where we're serving up the freshest sashimi, nigiri, and sushi rolls. And beyond the sushi, an exciting contemporary Asian cuisine menu. Plus a variety of specialty drinks, Japanese and domestic beer, wine, and sake. Balance your hunger with Zenshin.
And we are back here on Sports by the Book, live from the South Point Hotel and Casino. Please hit that subscribe button. Lets YouTube know that we do have people watching. And you can also join the chat, which we do have a lot of people in there right now. We've got Nick Sansone, Drew Dog, Vince Las Vegas, Dean Hilt, Agent 87, Muhammad, and I think that is everybody so far. We appreciate you. Were you talking about a movie to start the show? Was that Zodiac?
Yeah, Zodiac, yeah.
Oh, movie documentary?
A documentary, yeah.
Okay.
I think it's a 4-part series.
Somebody agreed that
It
was a
on
good
Netflix.
movie.
Yeah.
So you got confirmation
Interesting. Yeah, thank you. I needed it.
Well, we usually start with our run percentage, pass percentage, pace of play, all that good stuff. I want to start off with our top 10. Let's just go right into it. And I'm curious, your thoughts. You can critique mine as you wish, but I am the only one that has one of these teams in our top 10. Out of the 5, myself, you, Ryan McCormick, Jeff Parles, and Chris Andrews all have our top 10 on our spreadsheet so we can see each other's. So I'm going to start off. Number 10, Minnesota Vikings. Now they have back-to-back losses. I think they turn it around this week. I still think that this is a very well-run organization and a good team. Number 9 is the Los Angeles Chargers. I am the only one that has them in their top 10 so far, but I love what I've seen. I love what Harbaugh has done with this team, and they're very good defensively as well as running the ball, and we will get to that as well. Number 8, Green Bay Packers. Finding ways to win. It's not always pretty. They are not always covering the spread, but they are still finding ways to win, and that is important. Philadelphia Eagles look very good right now that we have both wide receivers back and healthy. Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley have more weapons to work with. Number 6, Pittsburgh Steelers. Pretty high, but I'm not surprised because I believe us three were some of the few people that had them about 12th to start the season. And now they're playing very good football. They are at the top of their division by themselves with Baltimore going down to Cleveland this past weekend. Number 5, San Francisco 49ers fall down one more slot, but that was a very good win and cover for them this past weekend over the Dallas Cowboys. Number 4, Baltimore Ravens. They did lose to Cleveland, but still with the adjustment, they're there in the top 5. Number 3, Buffalo Bills. Now, this was a significant jump for me. I believe they were 5 last week on my power ratings, but I had to move them up because where I had them with Seattle, I had them only a 1-point favorite on the road, and they blew out Seattle. So that adjustment, looking at the box score, everything, they have moved up to number 3. Detroit Lions, number 2, and Kansas City Chiefs sit there at number 1 with the Lions knocking at the door very close.
Well, that's pretty. My number 1 and number 2 are right there with you. I have Kansas City number 1, and Detroit I have number 2. But I have a 4-point difference between those two teams.
Do
Kansas
you?
City, yeah. The Chiefs have just looked so good offensively and defensively. I'm sure there's going to be a little bit of a lull where they do come back down to earth a little bit. And they maybe, this week, the Vegas game is such a big game.
Right.
But they get Tampa, and Tampa's got their 2 best wide receivers out. So, yeah, and they're at home. It's a game that they should get the lead early and be able to, run that clock out. And we'll see what Tampa can do without their 2 best wide receivers. But number 3, I have a tie. 3-way tie for 3rd. Baltimore, San Francisco, and Philadelphia. All are number 3. The 49ers are the best, I think, out of that bunch. They just need to get healthier, and McCaffrey is on pace to come back. Real soon. I think he comes back. Could be possibly this weekend. We'll see if he comes back. So he could be a big difference maker for that team. They need him, and it's right around the corner. Buffalo, I do have number 6. I've had to raise them as well. Josh Allen just continues to marvel and just showcase his talents week in and week out. 3-way tie for 7th. Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, and Green Bay. Green Bay news, got good news. Jordan Love's injured groin is not as bad as they thought it was. It's just a strain. There is a possibility that he plays this week. If he doesn't play this week, he will play the next game because they have a bye week next week. So this is a big game for them playing Detroit this week, and they know how big it is. So there's a possibility he's going to play. I think he does play this week, so they got good news.
Don't you think they should just let him rest and then have that extra week to really?
It is a long season, but this is a division game, and if he can play, they're gonna play him. But the one thing they do have a bonus is Malik Willis has been very, very good, so the drop off isn't as big as you would think. So Green Bay did a good job of picking him up, and my dad told me yesterday, Tennessee, what a dumpster fire they are. They let him go, and he could have been their starting quarterback. He would have upgraded their team just by being their starting quarterback, but they had no idea what they had. And then Washington and Dallas tied for 10th. I can't believe I still got Dallas that high, but they still have a lot of talent. Losing to the San Francisco 49ers on the road, there's really no shame to that, so they're right there. You mentioned the Chargers. I have them at 12. The Vikings, I'm way below. I'm still not a buyer on them. I have them number 22.
Wow.
I think that it's a football team that maybe played with a lot of energy early and got a couple breaks. And this, it's not who you play, it's when you play them. And they were fortunate to play the 49ers early in the year when the 49ers were not playing or were not ready for that game. So I think they just got a couple of good breaks in the season. I thought I read last night too, Pittsburgh, or read or heard, just glimpsing over at that game while it was being played. They haven't played a division game yet. I don't know how that could be. I mean, I guess it could be. I wanted to look real quick at that. Oh, no. Yeah, they have not played a division game yet.
That's right. They're all at the back end of their schedule. 8
games, not one division game. They have 9 games left. So 6 of their 9 games will be against the division, Baltimore, Cincinnati, and Cleveland. So...
Wow. Cincinnati, you do still have them up there, huh, in your top
Number
10.
7, yeah.
number 7.
I thought they looked good. They were just against a better team. The Eagles were a better team. Their Eagles offense was really good. Might have been a little pressure on the Bengals. They're still 3-5. I still think they have a chance, at the playoffs.
Well, for a team that is not very well balanced and really relies on their quarterback, their weapons mean so much. So T. Higgins makes such a huge difference in that offense. I think that was a big part of that game. He should be back this week, and they are hosting the Las Vegas Raiders going to Cincinnati. So could be a good turnaround week for the Bengals.
That'll be a game that I'm interested in because the Raiders hate the Chiefs so much. And I don't think they're a very good football team, and I don't think they're well coached. I think they're poorly coached. So throw all that out the window. They were playing the Chiefs. They put everything they had into that game. They give you the greatest effort they have. And Mahomes said that after the game. He says, every time we play these guys, they just amazing how good they are. We look and we see what their record is, and we know they're not very good, but every time they play us, they play like it's the last game of the year, and they do play like a Super Bowl. So they played their hardest and their hearts out, and now they got to go on the road and play Cincinnati. I don't know if they have any gas left in the tank. Right now, 2-6 on the year, and they're in last place in the West. So, and we know there's been problems there. Devontae Adams wanted out, and then I've heard Crosby wants out as well. So I'm not sure if that'll happen or not. But when your star players all want out, there's got to be a problem.
Devontae Adams, of course, went from a 2-6 team to another 2-6 team in the New York Jets. So we'll see how they do this Thursday. The Jets play on a short week hosting the Houston Texans. Curious where you have the Houston Texans. And I did want to talk about this a little bit because most people's top 10s are relatively similar. But then there's that chunk in the middle. And I'm curious where you have the Texans and the Falcons and some of these teams that fall right there, and even the Broncos. Where do you have the Broncos right now with this 3-5 record from Denver?
Right in the middle, 17th, tied for 17th in a logjam of teams. Jacksonville, Miami, Cleveland, and Chicago are all right there. You mentioned Seattle, 13th.
And Houston?
Houston tied for 13th with Seattle. And then the Atlanta Falcons, who I had in the top 10 to begin the year, and still think they will be a top 10 team by the end of the year. Number 12 right now, tied for 12th with the Jets. Just a half a point out, behind Washington and Dallas. So, they're right there. I have Atlanta. If I raised them a point and a half, they'd be the 7th best team in the NFL.
Wow.
So it's razor thin. I've always said the talent level from the top team to the bottom team isn't that great. There are great players on Carolina. They just need to put things together and need to, they probably could use a player here or there, but they still have guys that are very good football players. And
they were very banged up. They had a lot of injuries going into this past weekend.
So that hurts. And because when you got starters that are going to miss, and you got guys coming in, they're talented, but they're inexperienced.
Right.
So if you got a bunch of inexperienced guys playing on the offensive and defensive line, that's not good. They're going to make mistakes. They're up against veterans that have experience.
Let's go ahead and look at our top 10 run team, the top 10 run teams, and then we'll look at the pass heavy teams. Really quick though, in the chat, I did miss somebody. Hanif is in there as well. And then Agent 87 asked, what metric is most important for college football, MLB, and NBA? Probably 3 different answers there, but
yeah, might have to ask Agent 99 that for that answer. Agent 87.
We'll think on that.
We'll have to put the cone of silence over us first before we give you that answer. Football. I don't want to say turnovers because you can't predict turnovers, but I think maybe yards per play is a good metric. But again, that gets out of whack every once in a while from a team, getting a big play here or there. But I think that's very important. But again, football, the quarterback is the biggest piece of the puzzle in football. He's the main guy. He's got the ball in his hand 85% of the time. So that's the most important person on the field. So you want to have a talented quarterback.
I do like that yards per play as well, though. And going through the box scores last night, I don't think I have that sheet, but I was just circling the teams that had the highest yards per carry that were above 5, and they were all of our top 5 teams with Baltimore, the Chiefs,
right?
Philly, some of those teams that we know, and then even looking at the yards per pass too, above a certain number, it's pretty amazing there.
That's an important stat for quarterbacks: yards per attempt.
Yards per attempt.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you, Dean Hilt. He already requested 2 games for us to go over tomorrow, which will set us up nicely. We'll be very prepared for our Wednesday Sports by the Book. So if anybody else has any request for Week 10 of college football or Week 9 of NFL, please put them in the chat, and we will get to them tomorrow.
So Agent 87, you mentioned 3 sports, right? Basketball,
NBA.
So basketball, offensive rebounding is very big. Passing, assists are very big, and then effective field goal percentage, and then getting to the free throw line is a very important part. And then defense. Defense is probably number 1, but in all sports it's experience, but defense is very big in basketball. Baseball, obviously the pitchers are such a huge part of baseball. A great pitcher can shut down a great hitting team. So pitching is big, and what I like to track, pitching wise, is a couple of new next gen stats. I do like the XFIP numbers for pitchers, and in hitters, on base percentage and slugging are big. So I hope that helps out Agent 87. Say hello to the chief for me.
Okay, we're going to go to the top 10 run teams in the NFL. I'll quickly go through this, and then we do have the against the spread numbers for these teams. Philly moves up to number 1, running 53% of the time. Steelers, 52.7. The Ravens, 51.8. The Lions, 50.9 with their 2-headed monster. Green Bay Packers, 50.4. You want to go through 6 through 10?
Yeah, Washington at 50.4, Buffalo 49. And again, we're looking at those teams you mentioned. Most of those teams have a dual threat quarterback, other than Detroit. And you mentioned because they have a dual threat monster in the backfield that they've got to give those guys touches. They're both so good. San Francisco right there at 49%, the Chargers at 48%, and the Kansas City Chiefs 48%.
Against the spread, these 10 teams are 46, 22, and 2 so far on the year.
We should start tracking how these 10 do this week, because, a lot of those games, some of those games could be against another team that runs the ball well. So that would be, nullified in that game. So maybe we should take a look at the schedule and let you know that next week how those teams did.
Well, you just said right there, the Lions and the Packers at number 4 and number 5 are playing each other this weekend. There's 2 of our top. Let's go to the slowest pace, because that kind of correlates there with the run game. And we will run through these. Chargers, number 1, 32.2. There's not a lot of movement here. These teams have kind of found their identity, right? Titans, 31.7 seconds per play. 49ers, 31. Vikings, 30.7. And Buffalo Bills, 30.6 at the 5th slowest team.
Pittsburgh, Detroit, and Houston all at 30.1 seconds. Green Bay, Washington, and Tampa all at 30 seconds a play.
Slow and methodical, these teams.
Yeah, and it's not really, it's not a huge difference from top to bottom. Dallas is the fastest at 26.1, and the Chargers are at 32 seconds. So a 6-point difference, 6 second difference between plays in those two teams. A lot of that, though, has to do, Dallas seems like they've been trailing all year, so they've had to play faster in the second half, trying to, get back into these games too. So
that's exactly what has happened with Dallas, and usually not till really the fourth quarter they are.
So the league
really
average is around 29.2.
29.2.
We do get bigger discrepancies in college football because we have so many more teams, but we get teams like East Carolina and South Florida who are at 20 seconds in between plays. They want to play fast, and then you've got Army and Navy at 33, 34 seconds. But again, as pointed out, even though they're slow, Army and Navy score a lot of points.
Right.
So they're very efficient on offense.
Well, that's like the Detroit Lions as well, who have scored over 40 points in their last 4 games. So can't just go bet their unders because they do have a good run game and play slow.
They got a great offense. I think I had them in Baltimore as the 2 highest scoring teams by the end of the season.
Right.
That'll put up the most points.
So quickest, you mentioned it, Dallas Cowboys #1. Yes. And Colts #2, Falcons 3, Seattle Seahawks, who they were 1 and are kind of moved down a little bit, 27.2 seconds. Saints 28.2, and that is without Derek Carr. We'll see when he comes back if that is adjusted.
Chicago and Arizona 28.7, the Giants 28.8, Carolina, and Miami all at 28.8 seconds in between plays. So again, our 10th teams are around 29 seconds, and on the flip side, on the slow teams, they're at 30 seconds. There's a second in between, so it's just we're splitting hairs basically on that. And
well, let's look at pass percentage. This is not really.
It's good to know the Chargers. Like the Chargers, they are the slowest team, and they have a very good defense. So they have been an under team this year. And because of those facts, their games are lower scoring because Harbaugh is very conservative. He's a power run coach, and they take their time.
Looking for the Chargers here to see if I have their over-under number as well, but maybe I don't have it there. But going to our pass-heavy teams, starting off with the Cowboys, just like the quickest pace of play, 65.6% pass. Seahawks, 65.6% as well. Browns, 64%. The Raiders, 63.6%. And the Jets, 63.4%.
Cincinnati throwing it 62% of the time. The Giants 60% of the time. Seemed like they were throwing in almost every play last night that I watched in the second half, but they were trailing. And Carolina 60%, Tampa 59%, Houston 58%. It's just amazing how football has changed. This was the run percentage numbers 20 years ago. Everybody ran it 60% of the time in the NFL, and now everyone throws it 60% of the time.
Looking at those 10, though, against the spread, 27, 48, and 4. So has not been great for those 10 that are leaning more on their pass game.
Yeah, and take a look at that this week. We'll see, how that matches up with what opponents they're playing. But again, sometimes if you get off to the right start and you run the ball efficiently in a game, then maybe you won't have to throw it that much. We'll see. I'm sure those teams don't want to have to throw it.
Some of them do. Cincinnati and Seattle.
Yeah.
I think that is what they do want to do. The Cowboys have to, right?
If Pete Carroll was there, they wouldn't throw it. They wouldn't be throwing it that much. That's for sure. He would using the power run game.
Very, very interesting stuff there with the NFL and that against the spread. I believe that is it for the National Football League, unless you have anything else. But as I mentioned, there is a game Thursday, Houston Texans, New York Jets. I do want to check where that line has moved because it's been a little bit all over the place. Right now, we're getting money on New York, desperation spot. So here at the South Point, -1.5. I am seeing 2s at other shops, total 42.5. I guess it did open Jets -1.5. The look ahead might have been Houston, though.
That's a low total. The Jets still have a banged up defense. This was a very good defense to start the year, but they've had a lot of injuries. So something to take a look at on that total maybe. And we've seen higher scoring games. 42 seems like a low total in the NFL right now. I don't have the average score. Well, I do have it. Going into last week, the average NFL game was 44.5 points per game. And this one at 42.5 with a good quarterback like Stroud. Rodgers still can make plays, and the banged up Jet defense just seems like it's a kind of a low total.
It's funny because the Texans seem like they're having a bad year, an off year, maybe CJ Stroud sophomore slump, but they are 6-2, so they have found ways to win games. On the flip side, the Jets come in 2-6, so if they want to turn their season around, it's kind of a must win for them at home, right? Don't know about Tank Dell if he is back. Stephon Diggs did get injured as well, so there might be some weapons missing for the Texans in this one. So I imagine that has to be why the line movement, why the bettors are liking the home team here.
The Jets still, even with the injuries, they still have a good football team. I had them ranked like 12th or 13th
Yep.
right there. So, yeah, it's just going to be Jets need a strong home crowd in that football game, and then Rodgers needs to take care of the football. He takes care of the football. The Jets should be just fine.
Well, we are actually a little bit early today. I did miss JR. Good morning. He is in the chat as well. So appreciate all of you. Again, if you have any request for games, which I do see Dean Hilt already requested Ohio State and Penn State. Very good request there. I appreciate that. And Indiana at Michigan State, which will be another great game. I look forward to breaking down tomorrow. Anybody else, if you have a game that you would like us to break down, please put it in the chat. We will keep it up for the next couple minutes just in case.
So that the weather really has affected the totals in the market and people just betting them under. The Florida International game down to 43, 43.5 here at the South Point. Louisiana Tech, that total hasn't moved, is still 45.5. And then UL Lafayette at Texas State, this total was 62.5 down to 58.5. And that one's going to be the heaviest winds of the night, 20 to 30 miles an hour. But I got to make sure, I want to see if I think that's corner of the end zone to the other corner of the end zone there. But that stadium is bigger, 30,000 seats. We'll see if it's maybe more of a bowl, and if that wind does swirl there, it'll be interesting to see tonight.
All right, so keep an eye out for that. And make sure and check weather going into the weekend. It is almost November now. I can't believe it, but that means we do have to start checking that. And also going through college week 10, looking at the games this week, it's a good time now to look if a team has 5 wins and they are playing for that 6th win to be bowl eligible.
Very big, yes, very big to look at that. And then also to look at teams who just got their 6th win. Ooh. Colorado just got their 6th win with a big win on Saturday night, and it's the first time they're going bowling since 2016.
Wow.
So some of those teams will have a letdown because of that 6th win. So that's a very important part. Glad you brought that up.
Colorado, big win over Cincinnati. We'll break that down more too. Thank you for everybody in the chat once again. Also, lunch with Punch. That means Punchlines at noon. Have to go over to Punchlines FN YouTube channel. But make sure and join them there this Tuesday. Matt Neverett should be here with Frank. If I still know the schedule, he will be here. Oh,
and the most important part is it will be my dog of the day.
And Kenny White's
the most important
dog
part of the day. Sorry, Frank. It's a new show now.
So look forward to that. That will be at the end of the show. So stick around all the way till 1 p.m. for that. Thank you, everybody, so much here at the South Point studio. For Kenny White, I'm Alex White. This is Sports by the Book. We will be back again tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. We'll see you then.